And after they were beaten into submit, oh fuck me, we're live. Okay, let's. So Doom is been out for a couple of weeks, and we have a special guest here. His name is Jeffrey, I believe. He's the cat over here. He's not the one menacing armor. And I had quite a bit of fun with it. It reminds me a lot of the Fear games from 2007 to 2013. And anything after that, I don't recognize.
Oh, you mean so wait, do you like not recognize Fear 3 or do you not recognize the Fear online game?
Uh,
They have a big there's nothing but multiplayer game now, and I mean I think it's still around. I mean they launched it, it's just that, and then I heard nothing of it, so it could be dead, man, for all I know.
yeah, after John Carpenter was brought on, uh, Fear 3, and this is stupid typography, they replaced the E with a 3, so it's a 3R. And after he was brought on, it became just a very weird cinematic shooter. And
I pers-
I know the guy's like really good at what he does, which is like B movie horror films like Dawn Till Dusk, Ghost of the Red Planet, and the Apocalypse series, which is Army of Dark, Prince of Darkness, and a few others. But he is not fit for the games industry in its current form.
so did he
And
like do Fear 2 and 3, or did he come on at purely 3?
so Fear 2 was handled by, I think it was Pandemic Studios. Can I hear you? Say something, Jeff.
Nope, he's still gone.
I can't hear him.
Yeah, not yet, man. Keep trying.
I could hear him there for a second, but I can't hear now. And so anyway, back to Doom and its parallels to Fear. It's a very Twitch-based shooter with overwhelming odds, and you're alone for the most part.
It
And
describes like most FPSs that are not Call of Duty or Battlefield, though.
yes, the fun ones.
Yeah, the fun ones,
Um,
duh.
yes. So Doom 3 is actually a very short game. It's I only clocked in at about 14 hours, which
You mean New
is
Doom?
the new Doom one. Not I haven't played any of the old ones.
Yeah. Oh, like my experience with Doom has been I played the original on Sega, did not care for it. Then I found out years later that that's just the bad version. You have to play the original PC ones. But so I got like Ultimate Doom, I think it was, or whatever it's called. I forget which one, and I really try to get it into it, but I just couldn't stand the controls. So then I played Doom 3. I really like Doom 3. I know a lot of people hate that game, but I really enjoyed it. Even though you had couldn't hold a flashlight and a gun at the same time, and duct tape apparently didn't exist on a Mars base. But it was fun.
Hmm. Yeah, it was fun. He personally hated it, Jeff. All right, why'd you hate it, man?
You can hear Jeff?
No, I can see him typing. Um, let's see. Okay. Okay, I tried to mute him and then unmute him, see if it would actually start. Oh. Maybe, hey Jeff, I'm gonna boot you and then you can rejoin. So, uh, try to join again. Yeah.
We've hit the pinnacle of excellence here, Jack.
Yes, we have.
Like the new Doom. This comment was paid for by Bethesda, whose check apparently did clear.
Mhm. But yeah, um, it's a very Twitch-based shooter, and aside from a few hiccups where I felt like it's stacking the deck against me, like throwing five flying tough enemies at me while I'm on a single pixel of levitating rock. And
Yeah, cheap difficulty basically.
yeah, yeah, and it's like I just got done with Dark Souls. I don't need this shit again.
Yes.
So there's a few times like that, but nothing I couldn't like work around.
Yeah, well,
Like,
like I wasn't originally gonna buy the new Doom, but then Jack here was telling me about this game, and I asked him some questions, and I'm like, and it's like $36 right now, so I'm like, hell, I'll get it. So I haven't actually had a chance to play it yet, but it's scheduled to download.
uh-huh. Uh, hey, I'm gonna send the link to this hangout, so maybe Jeff can like join again, see if he will work then. All
Yeah,
right.
I'll get
Yeah, cool. So this game is a very low NPC populated game. There's only like two characters in it that really sort of voice act for it and sort of carry the story. It's between Hayton, the like head director of the entire Mars facility, and this odd cult professor that they brought on later on, and she kind of goes a bit crazy, and you have to
a
find
typical
out.
mad scientist. They really don't
Yeah.
need motivation. They're promised like ultimate power, and they're like just start wringing their hands menacingly, and they're like, hell yeah, ultimate power.
Mm-hmm. It's never clarified exactly what she was promised, but it's certainly in that realm of
They
it.
actually do say in the ending of the game, which I actually have watched the end of the game on YouTube, that they actually promised her immeasurable power. And like she's saying this while she's on the ground, like you're supposed to feel sorry for her, like
With
I'm the
her,
victim here. I only sold out mankind for like unlimited power, and they totally backstabbed me. There's a lot, that's like one of the
well,
reasons I did.
yes, they're demons. What you expect?
Yeah, it's like I'm looking at that, and I'm like, am I actually supposed to feel sympathy for her? It's like she got like tens of thousands of people killed.
Yes, the entire actually, and this is a bit of an interesting side note. The casualty population is roughly the same as Dead Rising, the first one. Like the entire city was transformed into zombies. It was like 6,000,
It was
62, 60.
52,000,
Oh, you have,
some hundred, I think 300.
yeah, that amount is like I think they're the exact same, which was neat. Um, like the whole Mars facility was like its own like little city. It wasn't like just some operating base.
So are you on
Um,
the? I think you said the moon earlier, but are you on the moon or are you on Mars in this one?
Mars, it's still Mars.
Oh, okay. Because I could have sworn I heard in the previous that they said they were moving it to Earth.
No, there's no Earth interaction. There's the Hell dimension, and then there's the Mars facility, and you kind of flip between. Oh, excuse me. These two locations, and the Hell dimension, you like change different places, so it's not the same place every time. And the Mars facility is pretty huge. Like I legitimately got lost a couple of times, which is rare in shooters nowadays.
So like, what is it like the level? Is it like kind of like old level design, or are they kind of like just
Yeah, it's
drop you in the
like
base like Dark Souls, and you have to go a certain few directions, but you can really just choose which way you're going to tackle?
uh, it's like the ladder, but a lot of it is sort of platforms stacking on top of each other, and corridors sort of fold into themselves. So it's sort of that non-Euclidean sort of level layout.
I kind
And
of like non-Euclidean space. That's just really kind of fun.
yeah,
More
um,
devs should really use that because like that's the kind of stuff you could literally be like running down a hall, burst through a door, and then be falling from 100 feet in the air into like some lake. And like you just never really see that in game design, which is really kind of sad.
yes, and it's so sad that like there are so many RPGs these days and so many shooters that are very like there's very restrictive about where you can go and what you can do. It's either open world or corridor. and those are your options these
Like, I
days.
don't really mind though having a quarter of shooters. I mean, because I grew up playing quarter shooters. I mean, GoldenEye, Perfect Dark, um,
Fuck,
Duke, the original, some of the original Duke Nukem games.
some, yeah, Sarge's Heroes was kind of like that.
Oh yeah. I love that game.
Oh,
Some shooters.
I got the cartridge. I got the old cartridge on it for on eBay from like Istanbul or someplace, and
I
for
like how
like
they
ten
made it
bucks.
green. That was like my favorite thing about that cartridge.
Yeah, and so I plugged it into my Nintendo 64. Bought it in 1999. Still works, and uh, it's just such a very odd experience because all the coding was done in binary, so it's very slow, and it was sort of like a cult. It was sort of like a shock to me, like how slow this thing is, um, and like I remember this being way better. But then again, I had a Game Shark back then, so
Yeah, I have the same joke. I have. It's like I remember all my games in 4K HD. Like, like every game I ever played was is always in 4K HD. You know, like ultra virtual reality graphics.
mhm. Yeah. And that actually had a pretty good sequel. It was
Spider Heroes too. Yeah,
yeah, where it's like there's a
they
blue spot
fought
in
out
it.
General Plastro because I believe the Blues had figured a way to return people from being solidified plastic from the other world,
Yes,
and so
that's probably the most original thing about the whole Sergeant Heroes world is that there's the real world and then there's the toy world, and if you spend too much time in either one, you sort of solidify and become a toy.
well,
I think
you
that's
don't
so neat.
solidify if you spend too much time in the toy world. It's just that when their people go to the real world, I guess physics change. So and then they start slowly hardening.
Yeah, and like in two, you could they like brought together off-brand toys. Like they brought back some wind-up tin soldiers and some Transformers knockoffs. So like things that weren't army soldiers but were still like weapons nonetheless.
Yeah, you know what's really sad about the whole what was the full name of that series? Army Men.
Yes, the Army Men series.
Yeah, like
It's
they had
it
so
was
many
made
good
by
games,
three
and all of a
studios.
sudden it just dropped off. Like Helicopter Assault for the PlayStation or PlayStation 2. I can't remember which one I played it on.
Yeah, I remember that game poorly,
Oh,
but
I will never forget when you're flying through that one level, and then he uses this giant magnifying glass as a solar weapon.
mhm.
There was really great games.
Yeah, and the last one from Sarge's universe was one starring Vicky. It was called Portal Runners, and it was uh,
Never even
horrible.
heard of it.
Oh, and you would be one of the few. It's like it was developed off-brand. Like they hired out some other tech company to like develop it, and it follows Vicky, but she's like going to other different worlds, and
To
it's a very weird game. It like takes away everything else. And then there was a like side-scrolling shooter called Sarge's Heroes Rogue, and where they take all the DNA of all the soldiers and tuck them into one super being.
Oh yeah, I
And
think I remember playing that one. I actually liked that one.
yeah, it was an arcade-like, constantly scrolling shooter, and
And the soldier you played as, he had like no face and like, well, he had
yeah,
eyes, but like he didn't have a mouth or nose.
he was like a molten soldier. It was pretty crazy. I didn't actually beat that game
I
because
think I did, but I could not tell you a single thing about it. It's
I
really
just remember
forgettable.
that. I just remember that like if you kept getting weapons, they would like increase like in range and stuff, which I thought was cool. And again, it's the greens versus the tan. So uh, it's that conflict only ramped up because the tans are like the infinite army. They have like an unlimited supply of soldiery or something to that effect. But
I guess
getting
like
back,
they're the dominant force or something like that.
yeah, something to that effect.
Was it like in one of the
And
Iron Man games you find out that they're actually dipping green guys into tan stuff to literally make more tan
what?
soldiers?
I don't remember this.
I swear I don't think it was one of the Archer's Heroes games, but actually I think it might have been from that one game with the side scroller. But I swear like one game they were doing that. I
Yeah,
don't remember
well,
like if it was a
well,
permanent transformation or if it was like mind control.
yeah.
I think it was
I
like
don't
mind
remember this,
control.
but I wouldn't put it past it because the toy world and Sarge's Heroes runs on some very odd logic. Like, water is death to toy soldiers. They can also, like, they don't die, they get, like, chipped away to, like, debilitating effects. And there's all sorts of weird rules that only apply to them. Um, they also had, like, a bunch of handheld games. Like, there was a battleship one, there was a land, sea, and air. And I think that's where the series ended, and 3DO went bankrupt. But getting back to Bethesda's Doom,
Yeah. Well,
um,
technically it's ID's Doom, and they subcontract to some other company out to do the multiplayer. Who I forget the name of their company, but like they're only good at doing COD multiplayer. And like no one says to play the multiplayer, so it's like
I haven't
what
played the multiplayer, so I can't opine on it.
like
But
every person I've ever seen give a positive review is like, yeah, the single player is really great, and then like they just will casually not mention that it has multiplayer.
yeah, I'll mention it has multiplayer, but I can't say anything beyond that besides what I've heard.
Yeah, I mean,
Is
like
that But
I'm gonna.
yeah, the single player is very fun. Like all the levels sort of fold into each other, and there's a bunch of stuff to find. There's armor upgrades and there's weapon upgrades, and most of the armor upgrades are kind of useless. Like there's dexterity, scanning, and Jeff is having trouble connecting.
Well, if we
Um,
were gonna say it aloud, I might as well have just said.
okay.
Yeah, our other guy,
Anyway,
yeah, he's having trouble getting in. It's not. He's telling me it's not letting him connect to the group.
I don't know how or why.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, I would have to see what he's doing in order to try.
I haven't blocked him. I mean, I ejected him to get him back
Well,
in.
yeah, but he had the same problem trying to get in the first time, and then it just randomly let him
Hmm.
in.
Hmm. I guess it must be my issue because I'm on a foreign Wi-Fi. I'm actually house set sitting at the moment with a dog and a cat. So
Yeah, but
I'm
anyway.
keeping them at bay with barbecue and water.
Oh man, I want you to house sit me. Fuck, barbecue and water. Me good.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff to discover in Doom. There are rooms that will like help you like collect stuff. They'll make your weapons more powerful. They'll make your equipment actually useful because on top of having 10 different weapons, there's also like three different equipment. There's a frag grenade, there's a shield bomb, and there's another one which is a hologram, which will actively shoot people for you, which is pretty cool. And that's something I haven't seen since Lost Planet 2. Like, um,
Oh man, do not remind me of Lost Planet 2, man. And that
uh,
that that game only had like maybe one good level of the fight junkies, and then the last campaign mission, and like everything else in that game was just blah to
that,
shit.
yeah,
I mean,
it's certainly jarring when compared to the first Lost Planet, which was
well,
sort of
they
this very lone survivor, sort of very huddled, sparse humanity everywhere. And it's like in two, it's oh hey, there's an entire community of people just like the first guy.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
it's
Not to
got
mention that it's like, oh yeah, and the plant's warming up, but it has nothing to do with the story from the first game. And it's like you assholes really couldn't put a throwback in there to the first story about it triggering the warming or something like that. You just had to like completely drop that. Like really, like as a fan of the first game, that really just pissed me off about the second game. I
yeah.
couldn't get
There's
over that.
also like forces. There's also now like cities and fortresses, and I mean not fortresses.
Well, they
I mean,
kind of
there's
imply that
fortresses.
there already was on the planet that number one, but number one kind of made you feel like a lot of them wound up being abandoned as they were moving everyone into space so they could basically heat the planet up through terraformation. And then number two, it's like, oh yeah, none of the things from number one really mattered, but the planet's just randomly warm because this super acrid called the Overg, the most original named character in all of geekdom, is gonna wake
That
up,
sounds like
hatch
a
out the
Resident
planet.
Evil. That sounds like an old Resident Evil boss, or it even sounds worse than that. It sounds like something you find in the House of the Dead arcade.
Yeah. No, that sounds like what a villain who would inject himself some kind of perfected G virus would call himself. I am Over G, the transcended one who is now God of this world.
Yes,
Some arrogant
and
shit like
the
that.
Overg doesn't really do a whole lot in the.
It's kind of like implied like it's some kind of mother of Acrid, and like that's kind of like it. It's just like some giant wiggling and thermal energy.
Yeah, it's not really explained what the Overg exactly is, but we do know that Nevik, like this sort of overarching planetary planning company, had like kept growing it. I don't know how fucking.
If I remember correctly, I think they're basically allowing it to wake up, and then their plan was to literally just kill it at the last minute, harness all the energy, put the plant back into an ice age because fuck the entire plan of the first game, and
Well,
then
yeah,
just
but
move on.
this would make the planet a desert, wouldn't it? I mean,
Oh no, it
if
would have
we're
basically turned it back into a complete ice snowball.
oh yeah, I think this is just such a weird thing about the acreage. It's like they're connected to how the climate works. Al Gore would have a field day with this. Um,
Yeah,
is that killing acreage somehow makes the world colder?
here's the
If you,
worst part is that that's also really contradictory because in the first game Acrid's existence largely there actually makes the world colder, but in the second one if you kill the super large ones it makes it colder. Like in the first game they basically absorb all heat energy around them and that's basically their sustenance which keeps them alive, but in the second game it's now they're basically giant radiators that are warming the area around them, and if you kill them then the area starts to cool. I really don't think the Capcom considers two very canony. I think they really realized they screwed up with that one because they really
yeah,
tried with number three to bring it back, and I was going to get number three, but you want to know what they did in the advertisement?
they made a Dead Space ripoff. Is what I got from it. What?
Oh no, no, barely. So they get this whole big surprise, like, oh, there's gonna be some really big surprise. Is Nevik Corporation lying to you about the colonization of whatever this plant name was? And it's like, oh man, that actually sounds pretty
CN3.
interesting. Then, like halfway through the advertisement, they couldn't fucking help themselves, and they just drop it in a trailer. The whole fucking big revelation. Oh yeah, the plant was previously colonized, and you'll meet the previous settlers. And I'm like, well, I have zero reason to buy this now. Thanks. Like,
Yeah, so it goes Lost Planet 3, Lost Planet 1, and now Lost Planet 2. So that's the canonical sort of uh, release date about how it goes.
yeah,
Oh, so back to Doom. I really like all the weapons have like each individual mods that you can like attach and then like upgrade to like, and they'll do some pretty ridiculous things. Like the chain gun you get will become like a mobile turret. It will like strap on
more
9 other
ridiculous than Enter
barrels.
the Gungeons guns.
What's up?
More ridiculous than Enter the Gungeons guns.
Oh, it's close. It's very, very
That
close to
that game
that.
gives you a shark gun. I mean, you gonna argue this game has shark guns? Because arguably that'd be the
Oh,
coolest
it
feature.
almost does. It
Dang,
almost
they should
does.
really add shark guns. More games need shark guns.
Yeah. Um,
Straight up.
but each gun, there's like three different types of ammo. There's the energy bullets and shells because, and each like there's two weapons that share each one, and then there's like two
So,
unique ones. There's the
so there's like
BFG
not
and
a
then a
large
rocket
variety of
launcher.
weapons then.
Well, the ammo pool is different,
Well,
but the
that's
guns do are pretty. Um, I don't know how to say it. They're pretty diverse, I guess, because you get a rail cannon, you get a plasma rifle, you get a heavy assault gun, a chain gun, a super shotgun, the regular shotgun, and you start out with just the
well, see,
energy
like if I
pistol.
was making a game and I had a super shotgun in there, I wouldn't even put a regular shotgun in there. I'd just give you the super shotgun to begin with.
Uh-huh. That's what I think they should do because, well, here's the thing about the super shotgun. It shoots 2 rounds at once, whereas, and it does like double damage and all that. But your regular shotgun, it will have like explosive rounds that you can add on to it, and it's better for taking out lesser minions like the undead, the unwilling, imps, and but the super shotgun is best used against like bigger things. Um, and like the super shotgun's upgrades will go like you'll get plutonium rounds, which will like pass through other enemies, and you'll get double trouble, which is the mastery.
Yeah, because that's like totally how plutonium works.
Yeah, I don't care. It's helpful. I don't care about the terminology.
I would rather have it like make little nuclear explosions upon impact, like scatter
Yeah,
shot and then boom, 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 like watch little nuclear blasts appear on the enemy, just tear through their health. That would have been cooler than just
yeah. I
going through
wish that
them.
they put like 2 mods on the super shotgun, like they did with all the others, because like with the rocket launcher, it will have a lock-on setting, which is super useful for this one specific enemy, which is the summoner. And as the name entails, it will summon enemies and teleport around the room. And it has a pretty hefty health pool, so you kind of need to lock onto it and get it down to enough health to glory kill it. And that's what I like about Doom again is that glory kills are an insta kill, but you have to like wear enemies down to a point where
Doesn't
they'll
that
be.
kind of like make the whole point kind of moot? Wouldn't it have been better to make a system like Fallout 4's critical system, and which is probably about the only praise I will ever be able to truly give this game. But like you rank up enough kills and damage, and eventually you just earn one, and then you could just one hit to do super damage against like anything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get why that game would not just do that instead, because you know.
Yeah, because and this is probably what saved it from being mundane is that if you initiate the glory kill while aiming at different limbs, the Doom guy will do different fatalities. I think there's like 10 fatalities for every enemy except for like one specific one or like specific like the floating giant beholders or whatever they're called.
Yeah, we'll just call them beholders.
Yeah, because that's essentially what they are. They're giant heads with cyclopean eyes, and
who apparently are not weak against mace for some reason. Like that's like the gotta be like the most easiest monster like you could think of conceptually to kill because it's only one eye and it just floats around. And like unless
yeah,
that thing has like supersonic bat hearing, you know. And then
yeah.
just watch it
Well,
start smacking into walls and scurrying all over the place.
yeah.
Nope.
That's what I wish that they would implement something where I could like turn other enemies against themselves, like if I frenzied them or blinded them, and they would sort of just attack at random.
Or like
But
prove that you'll basically are way more badass than the people that they're working for, and thus you'll severely hurt them if they don't.
yeah,
which is like by far the best video game logic for why you should do what I tell you to do. Because I
yeah.
will hurt you severely if you don't.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't trust me, well, there's a pile of dead bodies with mangled, severed limbs along my path to demonstrate how serious I am.
Yeah. So if you can get Doom, I suggest that you do pick it up. There's not a whole lot of like twists or turns in terms of plot, but this is a shooter with actual like merit and fun to it. So
But
I picked it up
like
regardless.
you told me earlier though, don't pay more than $40 for it.
Yeah, but
I mean,
yeah, there's probably going to be a BFG edition coming out 6 months because, as I was previously unaware of, thank you, Phantasm, um, that there is planned DLC for this game, but from what we can
like the
see,
stupidest stuff ever. It's like you
yeah,
get
it's mostly
three premium map packs, with more multiplayer stuff, which no one likes the multiplayer. So it's like, hey, pay $40 for more of the shit you hate. It's like brilliant marketing, Bethesda. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Are we allowed to clap here? Because I remember something about that triggering people. Ah, hell.
Yeah, it's the Lost Planet DLC. It's just more maps so far, but this is Bethesda. They'll probably add on something like they did with Wolfenstein: The New Order, which is the Old Blood, and I'm gonna bet money that's probably what's gonna happen.
Yeah, you know what? That game actually might be good. I've never played it. But that game commercially bombed. Like the New Blood just bombed. It did not sell. Like you can look at it on Steam Spy, and it did not sell for crap. Which it's kind of sad because I hear from most people that played it, it was better than the original.
Yeah, I actually haven't played Wolfenstein. Actually, now that I've like procured my hard-earned paycheck, I can actually go out and get this now.
Yeah,
Which
I'm
is
just.
yeah,
I
it's
was
sort
gonna
of been
kill him, so
on
I'm
my
just started
to-do
killing
list.
Nazis. It's like.
Yeah, it's been
Like,
on my to-do list to get forever, but just because of circumstances, I couldn't get around to actually going out and grabbing it.
yeah, I mean, the whole thing that stopped me from playing it is just that, well, one, I just didn't like the main character, the whole overall story arc. It's like the Nazis won, and they've actually turned the world into a pretty good place, universal health care. And it's like, oh, but the Nazis are still evil because, they're Nazis. And it's
I
like,
don't care. That doesn't make the Mussolini quote even less valid. It's better to live one day a lion than a million days a sheep, or however that
I
thing
know, but
goes.
that's like my point, though. It's like, it's like, oh, but they're despotic. And it's like, so is the Western governments that they kick their ass. I mean, you know, But it's like you look at what they did to the world in the game. It's like everyone enjoys some really nice health care, and like yeah, sure, the upper guys are like all they basically had to make them all like degenerate assholes
Immortal.
because for
Yeah, they
reasons.
made them immortal, sort of cyber fucking weirdos or whatever, and
Yeah,
it sort of like degraded their minds or something to that effect.
but it's like
Because the
so.
people that you, yeah, because the people you see in like the first segment, this is the thing about it. I've only seen like the first segment of this game, and nothing much after that.
And like they're so stupid that it's like we do like I don't have a moon base and everything. And it's like oh yeah, but the Nazis have to go because they're Nazis. It's like
Mm-hmm.
why? I was like, I get your point, but and the worst part is like the Nazis kept the BJ alive the entire time in like apparently really good condition because he's able to come out of a 10-year coma without any atrophy and then just start whooping Nazi ass.
Yes, that's one of the things I saw from the game. Is like, okay, my suspension of disbelief is straining, but let's continue.
And it's like kill this, kill that, get the moon. Like, oh, the Nazi with the moon, fuck the moon. And it's like, fuck this bravado bullshit. I mean, let me kill some communists for once. I mean, let's be honest, the Nazis might have been good guys, but the communists before fucking Hitler and came to power had already killed 30 million people. Hitler's top kill count's like 23.
Yeah, that's including the Holocaust and all the casualties from all the sides that went against them. Like,
Yeah,
I
and by
know
the end
that
of the century,
the Holocaust was awful and all, but we have to put in perspective exactly the Second World War. It took life at a huge cost because this is before armor was. It was shirts and a prayer, and that's all you had back then.
they had some armor, but it just wasn't as good as we have nowadays.
Yeah, but and even what happened afterwards, you had the rise of the Soviet like Union and the spread of
The Soviet Union, they killed over 100 million people in the Soviet Union before the Soviet Union fell in labor camps and
and the secret assassinations, the
Oh yeah,
secret
so yeah, secret
jails,
assassination, starving
and
people
that's
to death. But while they had food sitting in food grains, they would not give it to their people just to population control them.
yeah, and this like that's the stuff that I wish people would like hammer on even more than Nazis because
Yeah,
what can you
because
say about Nazis? You can say the worst thing about them is that I don't know they're a bunch of fashy boys, but whatever.
yeah, and then Mao's China, another communist state, killed 80 million Chinese. But
From starvation,
no, and go through straight up genocide.
yes, that too.
And then there's South American states, there's African states that came to became Marxist or communist, and they massacre people. But like no, don't pay attention to any of that. You have to hate Nazis because they killed a lot of people and they're like so super evil. It's like I'm not going to argue that point with anyone, but I think
Yeah.
the communists kind of beat them.
Yes. And speaking of communists, Blood and Wine was apparently released on the cheap because I had tried to like just get up to the level to actually go through, which is level 64. I was level 55, and in order to get to that level, I would either need to discover everything or play through the story to near the end, because that's probably the biggest way to like get levels. And after plugging it for probably 9 hours, only did I discover when I went back to the town that their conversation ends. They'll go into a hut and the door will lock, and there's no way to open that door. It is bugged out, and you cannot initiate the conversation. So I had to go back to a previous save, which was like 24 hours ago, and sort of stop myself from initiating this conversation.
I like how you
And
like put that like you time traveled. Garrett had to go back in time. No, me, don't talk like guy. He'll go into the hut and the door will lock and you can't
yeah,
talk
it
through the
was just like,
walls.
okay, if I actually spawn here and don't go up there, then they won't enter. So I go through the 9 hour in phase to get up to a level where I can actually fight these bandits that come. And then I discovered is that that conversation still runs whether you're there or not. So I'm like, oh fuck. So thankfully
You had
there's
to
a
go back and reload a save not once, undoing all the content you did, but twice.
yes. And I was just super frustrated. It's like, oh, you just fuck these bandits. Let people deal with it. And then we go and fight an orc, an ogre that's immune to like Grin or whatever the fuck. But I found out that he's weak to bleeding, which is pretty cool. But it's like he's 10
It's
levels
like the
higher than me.
it's like
And
one of the dumbest sentences I've ever heard. But it's if you're an RPG fan, you'll get it. It's like it's weak to bleeding. It's like yeah, so is most life.
yeah, but like my bleeding is 150 at base, and he like has a 10 times weakness to that. Like he bleeds easily, and I was
He's
able to just like
what's that condition
sunken
name?
the
You know, like
way.
where if you get like even a small cut, you have to worry about bleeding to death because your
Uh-huh.
blood doesn't clot. He's like one of those.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was able to like, oh, I hate saying this, but I was able to like cheat a boss out of like crushing me by activating the bleed, roll away, put on Quinn, get strut, and roll and repeat.
Oh,
And even though he's 10 levels higher than me, I still only got like 40 experience, which would be
what
the
the
same if
shit?
I was at his level. This is what I hate about The Witcher 3's leveling system is that if you're over level, you'll get a tenth of what you would normally get for any action you do, whether that's quest, discovery, or killing monsters. But if you're at the same level or under it, then it doesn't matter. You'll still get like 40, whether he's 20 levels above you or you're at the same. So it just really annoys me.
Yeah, like
And
I don't think I'd really care about that because that's kind of like how most games work anyway. If they didn't have that, you only get 10% crap. That I mean, I haven't played The Witcher 3, but I'm basically waiting for a complete condition if I'm gonna get that game.
yeah,
But
that's probably smart. And I'm
but
not a
like
smart person.
you know, typically they just require like an asinine amount of experience before you can level up again. I'm guessing Witcher 3 doesn't do that,
Um,
or it kind of does that, but just not as bad, and then also has the 10%, cut.
well, the way that it works is that from level 1 to level 30, it's 1,000 XP to progress, and then anything beyond that is 2,000 experience. But you have to
Per level.
understand, yeah, per level. So, but you have to understand, most quests do not yield that much. They yield like 100 at most if you're at level, and monsters in the overworld yield 5 to 1 experience each.
That
So
sounds like an
it's a
unfun grind.
yes, it is. It is very unfun to grind, and the only way to like really get huge chunks of experience is to continue the story. But if you skip out on quests, then you'll like become over leveled, and then the story mode will be worth less. So it's this weird sort of leveling system.
So they essentially didn't put
It's
jack
like the
shit
rubber
effort in the
band. It's like
balance.
rubber band physics of leveling. If you can understand that, it's like if
If
you
you go
get
one
close.
way, you screw yourself the other way. If you go the other way, you screw yourself that way.
Yeah, that's how it goes, and it's an unfun grind to get experience in The Witcher. It's unfun to craft things too because I'm always missing some unpronounceable herb and I have no idea where it is. This
Because
could
that was
never
like
be. Yeah, The Witcher 3 could never be produced in the '90s where
oh hell no!
information.
They would fucking eat that shit alive, man.
Uh huh.
That's like kind of like one of the reasons I didn't really get it because it was the downgrade, it was the political shit they were pulling. It was just so much about that game that just set up so many red flags for me. I'm like, yeah, no, because like I lose nothing by not getting a game launch day. Like I save, but I'll tell you guys a funny story about this. Okay, so you guys all know how Just Cause 3 basically wasn't that good. Like
Yeah,
this story's not going to blow anyone's mind. That
yeah, but
Just Cause
that's
3 wasn't
okay.
good. It was okay, but like it was like worse than one. Okay, but anyway, so I'm at like my GameStop, okay, and I'm like moving money and pre-orders around because I'll put money in a game, and like if the game sucks, I'll just move it to another one, and then the GameStop gets screwed over because they have to keep the copy. It works really well for me. Don't feel bad for them. Like in 2 days, if you don't pick up your copy at GameStop, they sell it. So, so anyway, I'm at the store and I'm like, oh, I thought I'd already moved my Just Cause pre-order money to another game, but apparently I didn't. I was like, yeah, move that money to another game. It's like, well, we still have your collector's edition, and I'm like, what? It was like, yeah, and it's like marked 30% down. It's like, like you still want it? I'm like, "Uh, yeah, yeah. So I end up getting my Just Cause 3 edition for like $80.
Ooh,
I saved $40 on that shit.
oh, that's good. I think the only time I've ever bought a collector's edition game is Darksiders 2, which came out in 2012 by THQ. And I was really hyped for this game because I'd seen like all the promotional trailers. I know like the artist that did all the concepts for it, which I'm a real fan of because it's like merging Spawn with Warhammer 40K. It's just this real like media extreme sort of environments and weapons they make. And it's like, oh god, this is going to be the most awesome game I'm ever going to get. So I probably bought the collector's edition for $75, and it's like holographic covers and all that good stuff. I wish I'd gotten the the ultra collector's edition, which came with like the mask and a toy and
Nice.
like It came like with like a legitimate metal case, if I remember right, and
Yeah, I mean,
come with
like
all the
when it comes to
DLC.
collector editions, it's just my experience that you just have to really be careful which one you're gonna get because some of them are really worth it. Because I got like the Grand Kingdom one, which is like just $20 more for like You got the CD, you got a poster, you got just like the base game, which is kind of funny to have to add to that list because, like, yeah, you bought the collector's edition for like $80, but you don't get the game with it. Like, what? But yeah,
Yeah.
like some of them give you like a lot of stuff for a few bucks, and then there's screw you ones like Skyrim's, um, which if you don't know what you got for Skyrim, you got a cloth map and you got this Alduin statue. And now, the way they advertise this, it looks like the Alduin statue is you have the dragon, and then you have this rock base, but the rock base is actually cheap as hell plastic that you have to affix the Alduin statue to it, and the Alduin's feet look like they're willing to break off easily.
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna be like insanely paranoid if when this thing doesn't initially, because it doesn't just quickly easily lock in. Okay, like you really have to put some
Yeah, it
force
takes
into
like
this.
some force to actually get it to work. I don't
And honestly, I just felt so cheated at that point because like it just cost so. Like I honestly, if I would have known the rock base was just a cheap hollow, it's not even hollow. It actually has no bottom to it, so it's like literally wafer thin.
it's like the old cup models for like
Yeah,
uh,
basically, yeah,
Legos and stuff.
yeah.
Yes, and but you want to know what the weirdest collector's edition that ever came out in like recent history was Watch Dogs. It came out on launch with like 4 different collector's editions, and each one of them had like their own little bonus in game that came along with it. Like there was no complete game that you got, even if you bought the base game and bought everything else. It was like little bits that you couldn't get unless you had the collector's edition. And there was a huge push by Ubisoft and whoever else was in charge of that mess to like push this new protagonist as iconic. And I can understand why. This is a new IP with no like new ideas behind it, but still, a new IP from Ubisoft is rare.
All right, since we're now talking about Watch Dogs, that seems like a good point to bring up Watch Dogs too. So,
Oh
have you
yeah.
been following the announcement for this game?
Yes,
Okay.
it's like they're overhauling the entire
Oh no
like
no 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 no!
premise
Like
of it or
you
something.
play as an African American character who gets gentrified out of his neighborhood, and you go fight for quite literally social justice reasons. And this is from the fucking developers and previews. I'm not making this up. I am not paraphrasing. You literally are taking people down for social justice reasons because how dare you have more money than us? And the final boss or one of the main antagonists is quite literally
It's an old white guy. Yeah,
not satirical, but it's what's that word? Mimics. You know what I'm talking about? Can't remember it. But basically, it's Donald Trump. And I'm looking at this shit, and this is shit. Don't get me wrong. And I'm like, are you seriously kidding me? I mean, it took Electronic Arts about 2 months to ruin Battlefield 1 with microtransactions, map packs, forced diversity, where basically there's only one white guy fighting in the British Army. I'm not making this up.
Yeah, so we know Britain today is exactly the same as Britain in 1940.
Except for, and
I mean, the Shiites were added to the British armament, but they were, I think there was 100,000 strong.
There was you're thinking of the Bedlam forces. There was 1,200 people, and in the game you play as a female Bedlam, and they claim this is historically accurate. And in real life, all the Bedlams were men, every last one of them.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, okay, this is taking some liberty with history, but I don't care. I played through pretty much every Assassin's Creed up until Black Flag. So
yeah, that 3 was basically my kill point too.
Let's see what else they have, and if they say that there were women fighting in the Army of America on the front
Well,
lines.
females did occupy military roles during World War One, but none of them were combat roles.
No, there were either medics, staff, or equipment management,
Logistics.
which is very essential, mind you. It's not. I'm not downplaying people that have those jobs, but
Yeah,
it is
when you're
what it
not
is.
getting a bullet, when you don't have to risk sticking your head up to get having a bullet put in your head because you stuck your head up at the wrong time in the wrong part of the trench. Yeah, there's like a different risk in those two positions because they used nerve
Yeah,
gas during World
like
War One. Like you could literally be in your trench
uh
sleeping, and then the Germans, or you be German and the Allies, hit fucking your trench with a nerve gas canisters, and literally this
huh.
stuff it just
Oh yeah,
settles into
Jonathan
the trenches,
McIntyre.
and then you just suffocate. And your only way out is you literally have to hop out of the trenches and run for it.
Yeah,
And you actually,
Jonathan McIntosh of Radical Life had a bit of a bitch fit about that for like 20. Like, oh, this is so horrible. Like, yeah, it's war. Before any treaty was ever signed, this is the first industrialized war. Like
we had the
before,
Spanish American War, which was
there
kind
were
of
just
industrialized.
there were just standard muskets and horses. That was pretty much it for the regular soldier. Officers could get like pepper box guns, but for the average person, automated and tanks were not readily available. So a lot of forces were massacring one side to the other. This is just how it
And
was.
both armies essentially just did what they had to do to win. And like, there's a bunch of at this point in time, I fully expect they're going to make the German army just herp derp evil when
Yeah,
historically,
which is not even close to how this whole war
like,
started.
you know
It
how the
started,
war started for America to get involved in World War One was actually a result of the media actually lying to Americans, telling them that because the Germans were super evil. And the Americans bought this, and then after the war, they found out that nothing the media had said was true about the German army. Well, none of the atrocities they said the Germans had committed were committed, and that's why no one wanted to get involved in World War II because it's like, oh, we're being scammed again.
yeah, like one of the original prods for America to go in was like, oh, we intercede in Mexico that if Hitler comes over, he'll give Americans to the Mexicans or something to that effect. But uh,
Yeah, it was just,
I don't think that's what kicked it off.
yeah, we don't want to delve into politics of the First World Wars here because that's a touchy subject. But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean,
for
it's essentially going to be bullshit.
Yeah. So Watch Dogs 2
Yeah,
is
it's all
looking
social justice, and
quite,
it's like holy shit. Uh,
yeah,
Like, like, and oh, but get this. There's the best part, Jack. See, you're just a racist, misogynistic shitlord because you don't think this sounds like, well, sane. Because you were indoctrinated into a patriarchal system of a way of thinking.
yeah, I'm fairly certain I'm going to hear that if I play Watch Dogs 2.
Here's the worst
But
part: is they
yeah,
actually are calling us misogynistic shitlords at this point for racist too, because we don't like the fact he's black. We're racist.
yeah. I don't really care if the guy's black or not because one of my favorite true crime games, True Crimes 2, took
Oh
place
man,
with a black protagonist, Marcus. And I liked his story. His father was in jail, and a detective picked him up, sort of raised him. He and sort of the people he was hanging out with, they betray him. He goes on like a real killing spree with these like thugs that tried to like off his original dad and his adopted father. It's a very interesting sort of backstory that Marcus has and how he's rise in the ranks of the police force,
Yeah,
just
that
taking out huge crime syndicates. And that's interesting. That's good.
yeah,
But a hacker, because he got
gentrified.
evicted, is okay.
No, I'm gonna straight up say it. This is completely not okay. Because honestly, I don't like to play politics, but if we're gonna be called racist. Let's drop some truth bombs on this. This game is racist as shit. You have a black guy who simply can't get a better job, earn more money, and decides to chimp out in an entire city and then try to attack the basically right wingers of the area because right wingers are super just are racist and hate black people. This game is nothing but bigotry manifested into the most vile ideology of the leftists that literally run these SJWs that manage to get into the development through diversity hires, and Ubisoft is really gone just batshit like insane by greenlighting this. Just
Yeah,
batshit insane. Is like
yeah,
who in their CEO is sitting there going like, "Oh yeah, no, this is gonna go over well."
yes. I I know that they're French, but I know that somebody in that boardroom has to step up and say, "Hey, this is just not going to work, gentlemen. We either have to overhaul this or mitigate it like Batman Blackgate." So,
Yeah. Uh,
oh yeah, did you ever hear like how Batman Blackgate just performed so poorly that everybody involved denies its existence?
that's the one they made for the mobile, right?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it perform that
It
badly.
was between City and Origins, I believe, and they were trying to prop it up, but again, this is a mobile game. Your
And,
your controllers are limited, and so is your processing power.
here's the thing that a lot of companies need
So
to learn about the mobile market is that different people play different games on different platforms. And the truth of the matter is, the majority of people that play on mobile are women. Like, I think it's 70% of mobile users are female, and they like games like Candy Crush and
it's puzzles, quizzes, and brain teasers. That's really what the mobile market is geared towards. It's a
yeah,
lot of
so
non-protagonist based games.
yes, they're
So,
making billions
and
of
there's totally
dollars.
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I'm not saying there is, but when you go into it like, because I've seen plenty of companies that later when the mobile market was, first coming up and everyone's moving over to that, they're basically going, fuck you gamers, we're going to the mobile because they're making billions of dollars there, and then none of them made any money, like at all, because you don't really have a market that really is interested there in that kind of product.
Yeah, it's people that like my sister is 16 years old. She can play on her mobile phone occasionally. She does not say she's a gamer like in the slightest. The last console I ever saw her pick up was the original DS, and she played one Mario game, and that was back when blockbusters were still on my block. So that's the kind of person that market is mainly made up of. It's people who have had little or negligible experience in physical hardware and are simply looking for time
A
killers,
quick,
I guess.
yeah, time killer, yeah, quick, fun time killer, and
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
yeah, no,
the
like one of my favorite games I like to play. I still have to get the sequel. It's called Dead Effect, and it basically the company has this for some reason keeps wanting to put their game out on mobile first. When they port it to the PC, they do a fantastic job. It literally feels like it was natively a PC game. Like you would never know this was a mobile port unless someone told you.
yeah. Um, there's also something that I find funny. Extra credits back when they didn't go completely mad said that eventually consoles and PCs would not exist and it would all all be a market. All you would have, because, and there's some credence to that argument, is that phones are increasingly getting smarter and smarter, like with the iPad, the Galaxy View, and other tablets. But you have to understand the people there to constantly fund Assassin's Creed up until its 30th entry. And they're not going to be there to fund Final Fantasy all the way up until its 15th. They'll play what's fun now and forget it later. They're not going to stay for the next exclusion. They're not going to shell out thousands of dollars for the next entry. And
yeah, here's the thing though about like people say that the mobile market's gonna be the only market that console cycles are gonna end. It's like people are listen seriously. You guys are so full of shit. It's not even funny. All right, what we're gonna see the end of is not consoles, but gaming exclusive consoles. See, the console market is evolving into what is called the smart home market, which is basically more integration with your TV and the internet and the various appliances around your house.
yeah, that's one of the things about the newest console generation is that well, the Xbox One originally you had to have a Wi-Fi connection, and a lot of people don't have that readily available. I mean, I have my TV and my Wi-Fi, which cost me pretty, and I know for people who can't afford to that trade, so it's either we make consoles even to lesser PC or in just games purely.
Kind of dropping in and out there, man.
Not really. What's up?
Kind of dropping in and out there.
Oh hell.
Yeah, but anyway, like, hey, I can pick us up while you fix that. All right, but anyway, like the Xbox One, here's what the Xbox One screwed up and how Sony did good. And this is not about a matter of fandom, it's a matter about business perspective. See, both companies want the smart home market. Microsoft decided that they were just going to sell directly to the smart home market because right now they kind of they were in Silicon Valley and they're kind of basically circle jerky there to the point where they all basically think that everyone else thinks like them, everyone else has the same standards they have, and everyone else wants the same thing as they want, and well, we don't. So they decided to go with an always online and go immediately and target the smart home market, which is so in its infancy that is not just a smart thing to do. Sony, on the other hand, they're like, this is for the gamers. We're selling toward the gamers. You know, this is gaming, 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 and they just hammered home gaming. Because now you're going to buy a PlayStation 4, and that's what most people end up doing because a huge chunk of Xbox's fan base said, fuck you to Microsoft, and they bought a PS4. Now Sony starts rolling out PlayStation movies, PlayStation Now, all these extra services and integrations into the PS4, including VR, and you already have a PS4, which means it's like you're already there. So now you're likely to use their services versus if you didn't have the PS4. And that way, Sony actually did really well in getting their foot into the smart home market. So, and I do fully believe that they're going to continue to do that with the PS5. Is that there's going to be a PlayStation 5. Don't kid yourselves. There's going to be, except it's probably going to be more smart homey with more integration of other things, more integration with mobile, more integration. The key word you're going to probably be hearing over the next decade is the word integration. And I'm okay with that because honestly, if they keep putting out great games, they'll also keep playing great games. Yeah, we're going to keep getting great games on consoles. Because simply put, is that consoles also generate a lot of revenue for the companies. And because not everyone can afford a high-end PC, and unless like it starts raining gold from the sky, that's not going to change. And that's what really is just face-palmingly bad out this idea that we're all going to switch to mobile, is that cell phone companies no longer even finance your phones, people. Like, think about this. So essentially, they think we're literally going to run out and buy an $800 phone just to be able to play the newest Doom or the newest Quake or the newest open world game. And that's not going to happen. I mean, these people might have all their friends just busily chugging and playing away on the mobile, but the majority of people are still gaming on PC. They're still gaming on consoles. And if there's a great game on mobile, they're gaming on mobile. Gamers go where the games are at. That's how it's always been. And for the distant future, that's how it's going to be.
Yeah, if I'm trying to get a password for currently like house sitting at. So let's see.
Yeah. Anyway, but on the say, I'll handle it until you get that done, man. All right. So onward, on the same avenue of Watch Dogs 3, we have not Watch Dogs 3, but Watch Dogs 2. We have another game, Mafia 3, coming out. Now, I've played all the Mafia games. I've loved the Mafia games. I wasn't a big fan of the ending number 2. I'm gonna fully disclose that right here. It really soured me, but I enjoyed the game. So what do is they hand it off to this studio that's in San Francisco. It's not technically in San Francisco. It's in one of the outlying areas of San Francisco, but this is literally San Francisco. I looked on a map. I was like, where the hell are these people at? And I'm like, oh, San Francisco. And once again, you play as a black character, and they put a black character in there because, and they literally say this is not interpretation, to teach you about racism. Because there's going to be areas in Mafia 3 where if you go there because you're black, people will call the cops on you because you're black. And this is supposed to teach you that racism is bad, except for here's a few, and of course, gamers called out the really instant problem with this ideology is that you're a mass murdering psychopath who's literally blowing up cars. Oh, by the way, the car physics in Mafia 3 from 1 and 2, gone. They now blow up like they're made of prime Semtex. It's really beautiful, actually. And it's so stupid. And the game doesn't even look good, which is actually the good part, because like you don't have to like, well, man, do I put up with this bullshit for a good game, or is this bullshit too much? It's like the game doesn't even look good. So, but here's the thing about like Watch Dogs 2, at least the character looks relatable. Like this looks like a character that I would play in maybe GTA or Saints Row or any game really, but the character in Watch Dogs 3, Mafia 3.
Hey, I'm gonna move location, so just keep talking.
Literally looks like the most. It's a thug. I'm not gonna lie. He looks straight up like a black thug, like a characterization of a black thug. And this is the first game I've ever looked at this and been like, I think this might be racist. Like, legitimately just racist. It turned out they're racist, rather racist, but go figure. And it's really just... It's a disaster. I don't really know what to say about this. The gunplay looks bad. The fighting looks just brutal, like not like Doom kind of brutal where it's like that's the whole point, but kind of like just unnecessarily distastefully over the toply brutal. Like, and it just really adds to the feel that it just makes the character look more like a dim-witted black thug. And you're supposed to play as this super, like an intelligent guy taking on the Italian mafia in New Orleans. And keep in mind here, this is the other mafia games were all revisionism, alternative history, but they were based in the reality. And the thing is, there was no black mafia in New Orleans in the 70s.
There was a group called Stone and Bones. Oh yeah, new location. So maybe now I'll have.
Like in the 80s. Is that they actually did get to the city, but there was no black mafia in the 70s in New Orleans.
Yeah, there wasn't a mafia with a black person in it. However, there were plenty of organized crimes, criminal organizations that fit the bill that were purely black. I mean, the new Black Panthers, the
Here's the
Stone
thing,
and
though, is the
Bone.
Black Mafia. But if you look at all these organizations, none of them were active in New Orleans in the 70s.
Yeah, because there's
Some
no
of them
money
got there
there.
in the 80s, but none of them were active there in the 70s, late 60s, where this game is supposed to take place.
Yeah,
Oh, and
and
the character originally was some Vietnam vet, and he still is, but then they just randomly changed him to black, so they could shoehorn in this
yeah,
diversity.
it was supposed to be like a take on. Have you ever seen a film called Dead Presidents?
No.
It tells a story about this black Vietnam vet who comes back to the city to try and like make it in the world, but this is before veterans' rights. This is before like he can't get a job and his wife cheated on him. It's a pretty sad story, but I thought originally, okay, if somebody could make that as my protagonist, yeah, I'd get behind that guy. That's sympathy. But if it's just some little guy that's just black, I'm just like, okay.
It's a little guy that's just black for no reason other than the fact that they really want to shoehorn in race politics. And this is not even an interpretation. The developer pretty much stated this. And I'd say pretty much because they use more fancier words and said it was I can't remember exactly their stupid quotes, but yeah, they basically said it was like the first sign you can know this game is gonna be bad is that the Game Informer article about it. This is you're gonna laugh at this. It literally says "Fight the power in New Orleans," and I'm like, "Are you trying to be racist here? Like holy shit! You're literally saying that us white people are racist, and you have to teach us white people about racism, and you're literally making the most stereotypically every stereotype about black people
This is
I've ever
Sunset
seen."
all over again. If you remember that fucking cleaning sim?
The what?
Sunset. You remember that? Oh, this was
Sunset Overdrive?
no, not Sunset Overdrive. This was just called Sunset, and it was on Steam. And you played a black housekeeper, and you like cleaned somebody's house in the cubicle or wherever the fuck. And it was supposed to be like this lecture on diversity, hierarchy, or whatever the fuck, and it just came off as like, okay, I am living the most stereotypical depiction of a black woman. I feel quite uncomfortable with this. So I'm just gonna ask for a return.
I forget who it was.
Its color palette was yellow and magenta, and
magenta.
Sunset.
There's some light blue in one scene. I'm on the Steam page right now.
Yeah, it got horrible reviews, and the developer on Twitter went, you know what? Fuck the game industry. Fuck gamers. I am out. I'm still free. Those were her exact words on the matter of receiving criticisms of.
I forget.
This game is just walking and preaching. So
yeah, I know. Like, I forget who did this, but there's a video about these two guys. They're kind of like famous, and they're I bet this game has these books in there so they can show how pretentious they are. And like, oh look, there they are. There's the Art of War. And it's like, this game is so pretentious. I just earned a film school degree.
Oh, that was Bro Team.
Yeah, Bro Team.
Yeah, he went through an entire stream of that, and he was just constantly losing his shit because every time. When Bro Team streams, he takes a shot for every time he either cringes, and I think he got wasted in the first hour and a half when he got it.
All right, wait. What does he take a shot for?
Every time he cringes, it's like cringe shot.
Oh God!
So he does that for a lot of games like that, where they're walking sims or just popular. For some odd reason. He does that with Life is Strange, and I love his walkthrough of that because he's constantly taking the piss out of it, and rightfully so. But every time there's a cringe, he takes a shot. And eventually at the 2 hour mark, he's like, "Yep, nope, no more," and he quits it and asks for a refund. And that's where the quote comes from. It's like, "This game is so pretentious. I received a film degree."
That'd be so funny if like a degree so one of his fans actually made a mock up degree and like for film school and then like just mailed it to him like for playing
We're playing Sunset.
Sunless that you earn film school degree is like
Yeah,
woo.
yeah. Oh god.
Oh, don't you love it when the developers go on meltdowns on Twitter?
I hate to see it, but I like seeing it at the same time. It's like horrible to see somebody self-destruct, um, given that I have quite a
See,
bit of
Jack,
family members that have had
you
violent.
still hold on to a tiny bit of glimmer of hope for mankind, and
Yeah,
as you age, you will slowly learn that that is delusional and probably mental illness, and you will become as bitter at the at humans as I am, and then you will just start reveling in the chaos and suffering.
yeah. Um, but yeah, the developers. Oh, what was this studio thing?
All right, speaking of cringe, developer meltdowns, and really just I can't remember the word I want to use for this, but games like things like Sunset. Let's talk about the new Ghostbusters.
Oh Lord. Okay, Ghostbusters has more corporate politics involved in it than oh, just any other film that I can imagine. It's even gotten worse to like the recent Fantastic Four like level of just the corporate entities that are funding it and the directors that are
It's like
adversarial against it. It's just a monstrous like mesh of just awful. And even
like
the soundtrack is awful. They got like Green Day or whoever, One Direction, some sort of hippie pop rock mixed with it as their main theme from the classic Ghostbusters thing.
yeah. You
And
know, I actually started
it's
listening to that
awful.
song, and at first I was like, "Yeah, this ain't the best ever," but I kind of get into it, and like a minute into it, I'm like, my ears are bleeding, my
Yeah,
brain's begging me to finally end it all. You
yeah.
know, the voices are whispering for me to give in to the never-ending nothingness. You know, just some
And
really depressing stuff there.
yeah, so this film, there's been a lot of like leaked emails and correspondence between like the producers and the directors about why this film is actually being produced. And we posted a link to a channel called Midnight Edge, which
Yeah, I was
does
gonna
a
about to
lot,
give them a plug too.
yeah, which do a lot of digging into
Like,
sort of
see,
the
at one point
debacle
in
of the
time in
film.
Sony, you'll probably know the name of this person. So please fill this in, 'cause I'm really bad at names. Is that they had this female CEO in Sony, and she was like really feminist, and she wanted to make female superhero movies and all that stuff. And so she greenlights the all female Ghostbusters movie, but she has to deal with the person that held the rights to it, who actually had oversight over the project. Which did they like drum him out of it or threaten him or something like that to get him off?
Um, there's been tons of threats against like the remaining Ghostbusters cast. There's been threats against Bill Murray, uh, the
Yeah.
other actors, and the original when the original cast member, I can't remember, it was like Paul something or other passed away in 2014. That's when like a reboot for Ghostbusters was over for a lot of people. So on top of
Well,
having this
actually, if you
overhaul,
play the video game, the Ghostbusters game, it actually is the basically the general script ideal for Ghostbusters 3, and it actually does wrap up the trilogy, which actually is really good. If like any of you guys get a chance out there, I totally recommend playing the Ghostbusters game. If you're a Ghostbusters fan, I'm a Ghostbusters fan. I loved it. Don't
yeah,
get me wrong.
it's one of those classic comedy films. It's like Blues Brothers, Animal House, Caddyshack. It's up there with them, but
Yeah,
it's one of those essential. Even if it's not your sort of comedy, I still recommend watching it. It's going for the experience.
and the thing is like everything about the new Ghost. Like, there's Have you seen the video with they put all the trailers in chronological order based on the script?
I have not.
Oh, wow. You really should do that. It's a really good way to, you know, basically start seriously contemplating suicide. Like if you ever just really are thinking about it, but you can't really push yourself too far yet, and just
Yeah,
really want to get yourself depressed enough, I recommend watching this.
I'll get right on it.
It's not just bad. It's like to say it's bad is insulting everything that is bad. Like if you say this is as bad as Hitler, you'd have to apologize to Hitler for
I could see myself doing
insinuating that
that.
he was as bad as this. Everything about this is horrible. The comedy is flat. It's not just the actresses and the actors' fault. Like this is just a really shitty script. And
Yeah,
leaks
I'm
came
like
out.
I don't fault the actors, actresses, I should say, for this too much, but I mean they have sort of like been brought to heel to say, okay, this is what you are going to say in public about this film. If not, we will do horrible things to your career or
It's actually
something to
kind of
that
funny.
effect. And it is a legitimately bad script because, like, the main sort of idea behind the four Ghostbusters is that three of them are all like very insulated, nerdy weirdos,
Oh,
and
keep in
there's
mind they don't act like actual nerds. That's the thing about when Hollywood wants to portray nerds, us actual nerds and geeks. Like our poser are just like pings and like our warning signs go off and a picture of the Emperor's Holy Inquisition starts going heresy detected, heresy detected, heresy detected,
yeah,
and we're like sniffing there like I smell a poser.
yeah.
That's exactly what these.
It's a very guarded community, and that's how every soul subculture really is. It's just to make sure that it stays that way, so we don't have poisonous elements that are in there just for themselves and not there for
Well,
the movie.
it's not even just that. It's just that when you are a nerd and a geek, you know what you love, and then some other person comes in there because they think that your cult subculture is now popular, so they're just going to ride the coattails of your popularity. And it's like the gamer girls of before we're all misogynistic shitlords. And it's like, oh, I totally game, and the gamers are like, well, what games do you play? And then like they don't play games, and you're
Like,
just
I
a
don't have to play
misogynist for
shit for
asking.
you. Like, well, you kind of have to, otherwise we have nothing to talk about
Yeah,
besides the weather.
and that's kind of basically how it is. Is like they see like and it's basically mostly based on the oldest fucking stereotypes of geeks and nerds, and it's. I'm not gonna bemoan and say it's insulting because I don't really feel insulted. I'd feel insulted if that even came close to representing the kind of person I feel I am. But like, it makes them look like a joke, and that's kind of what they've managed to achieve here. And it's like the original Ghostbusters. Like someone pointed out, I was watching some video talking about it, and they were talking. And it's like they were talking about how they were actually smart, and I'm like, oh, I never really picked up on that, but I know, but I get what you're saying. Is that these actually were actual smart people. They actually acted smart outside when they're supposed to be being smart. Talking about quantum mechanics and that jazz.
Yeah.
And
Um,
like overall, their general character was from start to finish intelligent. These
Intelligent, but
female
kind of like
Ghostbusters,
intelligent,
when
but
they're
a
not
little bit
supposed to,
off the earth. That's sort
yeah,
of where. Um,
they bumble, but seriously, there's like no one to follow in the footsteps. So like, well, yeah, you're not looking. They're like the pioneers in their field, so it wasn't like they had endless examples of who to follow and to emulate in order to do what they did right, and you know and learn from their mistakes. They had to be the pioneers that made the mistakes first. So they bumbled, and the movie captured that perfectly.
yeah, there's a whole um, uh, like all the original cast, and then they had to hire a lot of fourth Ghostbusters. They're all like they acted like intelligent people, a bit disconnected socially, except for Murray's character because he has to get a girlfriend.
Yeah, but
So,
it really fit into their overall archetype of what they were supposed to be, and it wasn't like they were so detached from everyone else. It was just that they're just a bit socially awkward because they spend most of their time not dealing with people,
yeah,
which
they're all the professor from Back to the Future. They're sort of in that weird state where they are pioneering new technologies in a field that is largely laughed at. I mean, hell, if and this is what I like about the original Ghostbusters is that the idea of ghosts, just in general, is like laughed at, like, haha, yeah, whatever. But it is legit and it is true. And
And what was actually cool about the original one is that I forget who it was, but some of the actors and even the director were actually really into the paranormal, so they actually did mirror what a lot was known about the paranormal at the time in the movie, which gave it a really authentic feel.
yeah, like
How to interact with
from
the
what I
person
can
in the
tell
ring.
is that back then it was believed that all paranormal activity was just energy and will manifest into what we consider phantoms and ghosts, specters, stuff like that. And a lot of it is drawn from uh, just really strong will to live. And we've seen this in like natural forces, like people have been put in extreme situations where their only like the only thing that's keeping them going is their will to live. Like people that have been starved for 30 days, and yet when they're found, they can still recover. It's just crazy stuff like that that sort of translate into, well, their will might be so great is that they still continue on existing in this new spectral form. And I'm probably making most of this up, but that's what I've learned from.
Yeah, you're actually pretty close. The initial description of will and energy was just a bit off. Is a vastly more complicated that, but like for a primer, that was pretty fucking perfect, man. I'm gonna give you props there.
Um, so yeah, the new Ghostbusters, it's getting massive bad feedback, and this is portrayed perfectly by James Rolfe, the angry video game nerd. He presented himself not as his caricature, but as like himself personally. It's like from what I've seen in the trailers, I will not watch this film, I will not participate, and I will not speak on it anymore. And it's a little bit longer than that, and he
Yeah,
gives
you
his reasons.
basically.
He gives his reasons as to exactly why. It's just that it just doesn't appeal to it. So even if he does watch it, it's going to be a bad experience for him. Like,
Because he's a fan of the originals, he said, and that his fandom of the originals has not tainted but tinted his view of these new movies.
yeah, and that's something that I consider like admirable. It's like, okay, if you don't want to watch it, that's totally cool. I mean, you watch bad stuff for a living, but if this just turns you off completely, yeah, no reason to like chew on steel. But and then like
The
Sony
press.
and a bunch of other it's like a bunch of publications just went after him personally for reasons that he didn't even state, and they painted him out to be just a monster, if I'm being perfectly honest. And
Which is kind of funny because it's like they paint him as a monster, but like not how anyone else would actually look as at a monster. And it was like it's essentially he didn't agree with the leftist dogma.
he didn't
What an
agree with
evil
this
despicable
film being
piece of shit.
produced. He didn't agree with this whole idea of this film being a legitimate sequel to such a great film. Again, as I've said before, this is one of the essential comedies of that era of the 70s and 80s. So to sort of rehash it and make it this cringeworthy, I'm not even saying that the full cast of all-female Ghostbusters is entirely
Well,
like,
only one, as far as I know, actually came on because they were actually excited to be a Ghostbusters. That the movie had inspired them. When I forget her name, um, but and as far as I know, it's one of the only ones that has not basically insulted the nerd fan base. Um, because no one's interested in the movie.
yeah, that's the thing about the actresses is that when they're not on TV, they are incredibly silent about what the movie is exactly. But and
The
I
director,
can't hardly blame them because if they don't want to talk about it, that's fully their prerogative to do so.
the reason why they don't want to talk about it is this movie is most likely going to end at least one or two of their careers.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be like the Fantastic Four's directors end. It's like,
Yeah, like Paul Feig, I think his name is, right?
yeah, that was his name.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, he's had like 3 Twitter meltdowns, and we found out from these some leaker, and I'll keep grain of salt in this, but essentially the internal word is in Sony is this: if this movie fails, he's done. He will not work in the movie industry ever again. And they also cut the budget of the movie by like $20 million.
Yeah. Also, and this is sort of a peeve of mine, the CGI ghost for the new Ghostbusters, it doesn't look
The
stellar.
let's put it this way: 80s CGI looked better.
Yes, and
When
most
you
of those
can't outdo
practical
80s
effects,
CGI, you fucked up.
yeah, and I think that practical effects would have looked a lot better. I mean, they could have been a ghost on a wire, and it still looked better.
Yeah, like
But
somehow like they went down to like the party surplus and got a fucking cheap ghost prop and they put that on there like they went woo. It would look better.
yeah,
Like there's only one ghost that's
the original ghosts were kind of cartoony, but they were like it was superimposed animation and like animatronics for some of them, which is a trick with rotoscope or something to that effect. And it looks pretty good even today. I mean, for that time period, it's kind of like the
Yeah,
Star
it's like
Wars
we kind of
special
hit
effects.
like a point where CGI was really good, and then it just nosedived, and then like you basically have to spend outrageous amount of money to get basically the same quality nowadays.
Yeah, I'm gonna state this probably hammer at home is that the pinnacle of CGI to be peerless into infinity was Jurassic Park, and everything after that was sort of a cheap knockoff. And even the prequels, which they poured millions into their CGI, it doesn't look good today. But if you go back to Jurassic Park with the scene with the T-Rex, that still looks good even today standards.
Not the third movie. That game movie is horrible.
No, that doesn't exist. It never happened. It did
Dude,
happen.
oh come on, man! It's not impossible that a giant dinosaur will manage to submerge itself in water that was quite literally shorter than its own body, and for a cell phone to be ringing in its stomach to be heard by everyone else. I
Yes,
mean, what's so hard to believe about that?
physics for one thing.
Hey, I just say this stuff. I don't actually pay attention to the bullshit that exits my mouth, man.
Okay, so I think we've done enough about Ghostbusters. How did you
Let's all
see?
have a nice round of shots at Paul Feig's end of his career.
Yeah,
This is from us racist, misogynistic shitlords you hate so much, Feig. Go fuck yourself.
yeah. Okay. So did you see Berserk before this?
Hells yeah. Oh my god, that was so good.
Yes. I mean, everybody on my anime list is throwing a complete fit over. Oh my god, 3D on animation. It's like, dude, it's Berserk continued. I've waited 30 freaking years for this.
Like you say 3D and it's not even fucking 3D. It's just that they have some kind of like manga lines over it to give like a bit of illusion of more depth and it looks fantastic. I mean, at
Yeah.
first I wasn't sure if I was going to like it, but I'm like I'll give this a shot.
Mhm. But yeah, I love that it's continuing the story like right after, and this is a spoiler, right after the advent where Griffith betrays the entire company of the Hawk and sacrifices them. But this continues like right after that with the manga, and you see Guts, the Black Swordsman, with his new arm, his new sword, and he runs into Puck, which is sort of the only comic relief in this entire series, pretty much.
Well, I have a question. Is Puck male or female? Because I
Puck
could
is
not tell.
dude.
Okay, because he doesn't have any junk, but so it kind of
Well,
looks like he's like a really flat chested chick.
yeah, it's the original Trap, and Puck Trap, and but yeah, Puck is a fairy in this universe, and fairies
I
are
bet he is.
Yes, he is, in more
I'm
ways
sorry,
than
I had
one.
to.
Puck can only be seen by people who believe enough in magic or something to that effect. So, since Guts has seen magic firsthand, he's been to the other side, the hell dimension, pretty much. He 100% believes in magic, even though he pretty much wipes away any idea of superstition as just
So only a select
nonsense.
few actually can see Puck. Because like when I was watching, I got the kind of impression that almost anyone and everyone could see Puck. Because there wasn't like a singular person in that entire show that couldn't see Puck.
Yeah, that's well. This will probably be explained in the next episode. But the woman in at the end, did you watch it all the way to the end?
Yeah, I did. I watched the whole thing, even
Yeah,
the after
when
credits.
the Holy Iron Chains company comes by, the woman in charge, Felicia, I believe her name was, she can't see Puck, and neither can any of the other guys, because they don't believe in magic. They believe in God or something to that effect, and it makes Puck invisible to them to some degree. And it's a really weird folklore sort of way that things operate in the Berserk universe.
Actually,
But
there's some credence in real life how your brain works and the critical mind stuff. So like
yeah,
that's not even that far of a stretch. It's kind of like an extreme version of some of your brain's mechanics, but not out of the yeah.
yeah, like your mind will trick you into believing what you actually see presented to you is what it is. Or I'm probably butchering it, but it's like,
Well, see,
um,
you're basically your brain's divided into three sections: the conscious, the critical mind, which separates the two, and then the subconscious. The subconscious basically manages all the autonomous functions, your emotions, and all that, and it sends influence to your conscious mind. But the conscious mind also does the reverse to the subconscious mind. And the critical mind is basically a filter that stays between the two of them. So essentially, and if you look at how the critical mind is formed, is that by the age of critical mind actually fully forms around the age of 10. And if you look at children, a lot of them actually do end up seeing spirits, and they're constantly told that this is not real, you shouldn't be seeing this. And then when the critical mind finally forms on the age of 10, they'd actually stop seeing spirits. And
yeah,
so there actually is a biological explanation for why such things happen. Is because if the critical mind literally does not believe that you should be seeing this, it will just make you not see it. It's actually quite literal. You could be staring at a spirit straight in the face, and your critical mind will just be scrubbing it from your vision.
yeah, that it is pretty crazy, and I'm there's probably a whole field of study that I'm completely oblivious to.
Oh yeah,
Uh
it's what my passion.
huh. But yes, the new Berserk animation is a cross between cell shaded 3D and like legitimate flat animation. I think a
Like
lot of Puck's animations are done flat, and Guts himself is a sort of 3D model working in the world. And
I'll be honest, I never got the impression anything was 3D though. Like
yeah, like
it
I
looked
wouldn't have
gorgeous,
guessed. You
but it
wouldn't guess
looked
if I didn't already tell you that. Yes, there's 3D in it. Like if you weren't looking for it, you wouldn't see it.
like some of the textures. I'd describe it more like as 2.5D because nothing looks like your standard 3D.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's not like Ruby 3D. Let me just say that it's a, it's like Phantasm said. It's sort of a pseudo.
You can call me Kevin.
Okay, okay, Kevin. It's like what Kevin said. It's a 2.5D model that sort of has different angles the way the camera looks at it. And this story picks up right after the Golden Age arc, and which is something I love because the original animation, which came out in 1997, and the manga has been going on since like the late 70s, all the way up to the current day, hasn't progressed past pretty much the introduction. Like, I mean, there's been a animated film series called The Golden Age, where it takes the story of the introduction and sort of speeds it along, but it does it.
If you've ever watched the One Piece movies and the One Piece show and read the manga, you will know that the One Piece movies greatly condense everything and cut out a lot of details but it's standalone, so you don't need to worry about it. The movies are basically like that.
Yeah,
Is the easiest way to put it.
yeah,
And I have not seen the movies. I have not read the manga like Jack. So
yeah. In the movies and sometimes in the original animation, they cut out a few pivotal like points between Guts and uh, Zod. Zod. Because they form this weird rivalry, and there's a few instances in which they reinforce this in the manga. Like Zod helps him out occasionally, and Guts will occasionally leave Zod alone out of respect. It's sort of this weird warriors rivalry that sort of pushes everything out of the way, and it's not seen in the animation in either the movies or the original film. I mean, not film, television show. Um, and I like that this is sort of the continuation of it. And from what I can predict, since this is pretty much three chapters all rolled into the one, it sort of skips an innocuous scene with the trees and where that guy is talking, sort of carving this moment. Like Guts is supposed to be there talking about, oh, you don't want to know what haunts the night for you, or something about that, but it ultimately leads to nothing.
what I
Um,
like about this is because I'm coming from the perspective I don't know the whole history of the show. I mean, probably by the time the show's done airing, I will. But like, you do not need to know any of this. It functions pretty good standalone.
yeah, I know all of it, so my expectations are slightly higher than others. Um, I guess that's sort of my feel with Dead Man Wonderland. Like I read a good chunk of the manga, but and when I was watching the animation, it's like, there are some huge things that are quite important later on that are just missing. And lo and behold, they cut so much that it would make no sense to continue the series because they had skimmed over an entire arc which played a pivotal role later on.
Oh man, that means I'm never gonna see another season of Dead Man Wonderland.
Yeah, it's one of Madhouse's best. It's like up there with Black Lagoon and what else are they known for?
That really sucks. I actually really like that, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Wait, you don't like Black Lagoon or?
Oh no, I said that's sad. I really liked it.
Yeah,
Dead Man Wonderland. That one
yeah.
I'm not gonna get a
It
season.
was a very it's a very gritty, ugly, like sort of gilded world that this whole prison system lives under. Like
Essentially, most people keep a blind eye to it. They don't know that this stuff's going on,
they don't even
and
know that it's real. Like if you
they know
remember,
it's real, but they don't know like how that they're having basically human fights inside, and that I think they know like what that the people die in there pretty frequently, but not about the whole human death matches underneath it.
yeah, like there, it's a really screwed up situation, and it all takes under this carnival facade, which is really disturbing stuff. And uh, but yeah, it's a shame that it won't continue that series. But they did have an OVA which follows Crow and like how he got into the system. And
Yeah,
yeah, but I'm looking
it's a
forward
really dark
to.
anime. Like, if you get a chance, you really should watch it. It's
Yeah,
you
it's
will
not.
really hate the main bad guy just based on the shit he does in the first three episodes.
Yeah, he is such a prick.
Dude, prick is like insulting pricks everywhere. He is like literally epitome of an evil piece of shit.
Yeah, he's like he's like the quintessential amoral uh, business executive. Like he'll knock off his father just to get the position. Like no joke, that happens in the.
Yeah, he was going to, but then like someone else killed his father.
It's like, oh well, whatever. I'll just take it.
Sweet, problem solved.
Oh yes, and this is probably the most annoying part of it. He says everything in this whimsical voice, and it's super screwed up. Like he'll be torturing a kid, and he'll say it's like, oh, I've done this a million times before. I'll do it a million times again, or something to that effect. And you'll despise this person.
Like the only reason I really want this show to continue was I wanted to see him die because I get the deep feeling that he's going to die in the most horrifically violent way possible. And now I'm just really sad that I'm never going to see that fucker get ripped limb from limb, or even worse, just be exposed to the world for the piece of shit he is, and then have the world turn against him.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the Berserk series continue. It says it was supposed to be released on Friday, but it was postponed until next week. So hopefully um, I'll get to see it then. But I'll actually be touring Europe on the 7th, so I won't really be here.
Well, make sure you go through the refugee areas talking about how gay lives matter.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that since they don't allow me to carry my gun.
Um,
It's
yeah.
my right.
Enough
Oh,
ammo
not
to
in this
kill that many
country.
people.
Yeah, it's like, but it's my right. Well, not in this country you're visiting.
You think I give a shit about what your government thinks? That's cute.
Yeah. America. Okay.
There's a comic, bit off topic, is like some guys at the British little flag blobs, and it's like the British customs guy's like, you have anything to declare? And he's like, yeah, independence. Pulls out a gun and then walks off.
Yeah. I love the country balls is what they're called. There's like UK ball, Brexit ball, anarchy ball. They're just these innocuous blobs with flags and eyes, and a lot of people use them for comedic effect. And
like there's this one where China calls these guys over and is like, I have a perpetual energy source which burns entirely clean, and he pulls out all these little Taiwanese balls and he's like, Chinese culture, only culture, and they all just burst into flames and rage.
oh. But yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to cover. Blood and Wine does not function because it's bugged, so I quit after going through the ending 3 times.
Yeah, and like when he told me this, I'm like, listen, man, you're playing Witcher 3. You pretty much deserve this.
Yeah, I was stupid
Like,
enough to buy into this game because they'll pour $1 billion into graphics and voice actors, but when it comes to coding, that's
oh,
that's
they
a problem.
downgraded the graphics too, man. That's like one of the chief reasons I didn't get this game.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh
Like,
god, it's just.
but like I had a little catch system, like
like
just like I deserve to suffer because I keep playing Fallout 4, and I do.
Yeah, and it's like they update the game. We're on currently 1.22 from 1.00, and it still bugs. There's still dialogue. There's still people disappearing. It's the same freaking problems.
You want to hear people disappearing? I'm playing Fallout 4. I'm going to Far Harbor, which opening dialogue shit overall okay DLC. But there's the quick version of that. But I had my what was her name again? Shit.
This is how memorable the characters are in Fallout 4.
No, I really blank on names. But
Yeah.
yeah, actually they are that rememberable, except for like a handful of them. It's I want to call her ED, and I know that's the wrong fucking name. It's the one that robot you get turned into a synth female.
Curie,
yeah, Curie. Thank you. I kept thinking her name started with an S, and I was trying to remember. But anyway,
No,
like I'm venturing with her.
All
of a sudden, she stops following me, just disappears. So I go back to Longmire Shires or Longmire, whatever the hell his name is, cabin, and I pick him up, and I, tell her to go back to the cabin so I could get her when she gets there. She fucking disappeared from my game, and then later on, I kid you not, Nick Valentine did the same thing.
Yeah, Nick is actually pivotal in Far Harbor. Like he'll get unique dialogue.
Yeah, so I literally missed out on like a good chunk of that at the end of it.
Yeah, but he's not my favorite follower. Like Kate is, and I don't care if she's drug addicted.
Um,
She's like
oh,
my
um,
favorite.
what's his
He
name?
is Cassidy 2.0 to me.
I liked
Um,
Hancock. I mean, honestly, Hancock was just one of my favorites
oh yeah, he is
because
so fun.
Hancock
And
and Mick, well, not Donald, but
the
McGreedy
Brotherhood.
or
Well, McCready,
McCready.
yeah, McCready from Fallout 3.
I like McCready because he just doesn't give a fuck whatever the hell you do. He's like pretty much just down. Like you paid him, he's just there to follow you. And, like you can steal crap, and he like just likes that. Like, hey, good for you.
Like, okay, it's like cool, dude. Yeah,
And he's like,
whatever, just do it.
hey. And
Yeah,
these two guys are being complete jackass to me and trying to force me out of business. Would you mind killing them? Help me kill them? I'm like,
yeah,
okay. I've killed pretty much everyone else. I might as well.
yeah, and they're gunners, so who gives a shit?
Yeah, fuck them. They didn't pay me anymore, and they keep packing my settlements. They're gonna
Yeah.
die.
Yeah, this is the thing about gunners that I don't get is that they're a well-equipped mercenary group, and they just attack your settlements at random. I've only had to like fight them off once, but I know for a fact that
No,
like
they will. I had like Finch Farm, like they just kept attacking that over and over again.
oh,
Like,
you want to hear a funny story about Finch Farm? Like,
sure.
yeah, I just liberated it, and I'm like level 80 something. And the way that attacks work is that they'll scale with your character. So, but your settlers won't scale for some odd reason. Like they won't get better equipment and they won't level up. So when I liberate this town, like get their son back from the flamers or whoever they were, the pyromaniacs.
It
Um,
was the Forge. Which
yeah,
is actually really funny. Like,
yeah, the
interrupt your
forge.
funny story. If you actually go through the name that people sacrificed and penalized, the last one's name is Yancey, and he was literally thrown into the fucking forge. And this is his crime. You ready for this?
Mhm.
He refused to change his name. Is like sacrificed to the forge. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. But after like I get the sun back and I leave to go, collect the water so I can sell it and get my actual money back because that's the only way you like can get a net increase in your caps is not by looting corpses, it's by producing a bunch of water. And when I arrive at the Twilight Drive-In to collect the water, I get a notification. The fish farm is under attack. I'm like, oh shit, I'll go handle it right now. So I teleport back there, and there are three death claws attacking. I didn't really know how to handle it because I carry a bunch of weapons with me at all times. Like, oh, I gotta use the bazooka or whatever, but I can't because that'll harm the villagers. And, oh,
Oh yeah, that's the thing about the system though. If like you need to use some high ordnance and it hits any of them, even by accident, like the game says, "Oh, just holster a weapon and they may forgive you." Yeah, there's no
that,
fucker in that entire game will ever forgive you if you accidentally hit them.
yeah, that never
Ever.
happens.
Period.
I wish that it would happen on the off chance, but it just doesn't happen.
Oh,
Um,
I was in I got some from the expansion. I was going into Good Neighbor and these the robot raiders. I can't remember their fucking name.
the
They
Rust
followed me
Devils,
into the good what?
Rust Devils, that's their
Yeah,
name.
Russell. Yeah, thank you. They followed me into Good Neighbor, and then we got in a firefight in the area. I'm like, son of a, like, I live with stealth too, so they just warp into Good Neighbor. And I'm like, son of a bitch. I'm like fighting them. I'm using a pistol, and I guess somehow one of my bullets went straight and it hit one of the guards. Cause like, and only he aggroed me though too. And I'm like, and I had to put him down. Then the whole fucking town aggroes onto me. Like this fucker's literally trying to kill me. Like you guys don't have a problem with it. No one's batting an eye. But I have to self defense myself. You know, boom, boom, put him down, and then fucking everyone's killing me.
Yeah, it's an unfair like system. It's like, oh yeah, you saved our village, but if you nicked one of our guards by accident, well, smashed on you.
Well, save. Yeah. I typically save. I mean, there was this one time I just really wanted this land. They weren't giving me the quest to fucking get it, so I just killed everyone there.
Yeah, you
Suck it
just
for
gotta
being
do,
no named.
yeah, you just gotta do that sometimes. So Have you completed Far Harbor? I
Oh
haven't.
yeah, I have completed everything in Far Harbor. I can answer any I can answer any question about Far Harbor.
Okay, I've only I'm just discovering all the locations because I got caught up with Pokemon and Doom, so I didn't really have time to
Like
just power through the story of it.
uh, uh, like uh, here's the thing though, it's like everything that's wrong the main campaign will in game it will affect Far Harbor, but the factions conflict overall is actually way better explained because like in the main game everyone just wants to kill everyone for just really stupid reasons.
Yeah,
Like I'm not kidding, like really the Minutemen have no reason to attack the Institute, but they just do it for
they don't have
reasons.
a reason to attack the float. I mean, the Brotherhood's mega fortress, but
Oh,
okay,
actually,
they
they do
did
have a
it.
reason for that. It's because the Brotherhood literally will actually attack the Minutemen because the Brotherhood actually is, despite their pretentious bullshit claim, actually will is actually there to occupy the region.
Yeah. But the way I did it, and they won't do it if you reach like a certain grace with them. Like if you get up to a night level, then the Minutemen will just have to like deal with them, and they won't attack them because I'm like in their cult mechanicus, I guess you'd say, too deep because they're thinking like, okay, if we attack the Brotherhood, then our most powerful general will turn on us.
Yeah, here's the dumb part about that is, but if you work for the Institute and you actually have to tell, and there's this big misunderstanding, um, in one quest where basically you have to get some Minutemen soldiers to stand down because the Institute's actually there just to legitimately recruit this guy into the Institute to solve some problems for them. Like they're not even trying to be evil about it. They're just like, hey, come work for us. We have a really sweet ass fucking facility. You can basically do whatever research you want. And you tell them like, hey, I need you to stand down. And they're like, fuck you. You're our general. You've butchered like thousands, but we don't have to listen to you. Like
But you have to
that.
listen to us. You have to
No,
listen to me.
oh, here's the thing though. If like they literally refuse to stand down and they'll literally rush in and attack, and you actually side with the Institute, the whole Minutemen organization will somehow find out about this and turn against you.
Yes, the way that um,
They literally broke rank, refused to follow orders, didn't ask any questions. But if you deal with them in the way you have to, like any military organization on Earth throughout history would do, your whole organization will turn against you.
yeah, this is why I never sided with I mean, I didn't side with the Minutemen. It's just purely I don't care about you people. You
Yeah,
have
I keep
no.
them basically as a ground force for my institute.
Yep, that's how it works. And it's just like, you know what? I'm gonna put you under the Brotherhood's protection, quote unquote, all of the settlements. Like I don't care if it takes me an entire day to do it. Like I just trust them to be more, I guess,
Capable of doing it.
yeah, capable of actually doing things than the
Yeah, like
Minutemen.
most of the time, the Minutemen don't even help, and I don't even know why I still carry that flare gun around.
Uh huh.
It's pretty much
I
useless.
don't. I sell the flare grenades. I just don't care.
I mean, like I've used it me like 6 times over my entire playthrough, over like 2 characters, like ever.
Yeah, I
Because
did
they
it.
take forever to get there. They often, if you don't shoot it up like when you're right in the middle of the enemy base, they won't. There's a good chance they won't go into the enemy base, and by the time they actually get there, you've pretty much killed the entire enemy base.
Yeah, and they're all under levels. They're all like 5 or 10. They're level 5 or 10 each, if I remember right. And they all have like laser muskets, which is an okay weapon, but it's not great. Uh,
Yeah, I just use a
like that's
Gauss rifle.
that's sort of my deal with the Far Harbor DLC. It's just like I don't care about any of this at all. I don't care about the quest. I don't care about the people. I don't care about this situation. It's just like,
It really is kind of a forced situation. I will admit that full heartedly. I mean, not to mention that you played the opening, right? Well, I mean, of course you did.
yeah,
You have to go get this girl, okay? And the mother will literally tell you this. It's like my 19-year-old daughter is just fine because she's a strong woman. I'm like,
well,
I
she's
just got
smart.
fucking
Yeah, yeah, she's smart, capable, careful, and like, well, that's nice and all, but if she goes up against the Deathclaw, that's all null and void.
Which I actually ended up doing on the way to the cabin tonight was all null and void. That Deathclaw fucking bitch slapped me, pinned me down, and made me its bitch.
Uh-huh. Those the Deathclaws in this game are kind of fucking brutal. Like like the previous ones, they'll take a chunk of your health and follow you ad nauseum, but the way to deal with the Deathclaw effectively is just to cripple their legs. I'm glad that they kept that in from Fallout 3 to the current day.
Like, dude, I remember Fallout 3. Like, Deathclaws were so easy, and I get to New Vegas, and I'm just gonna beeline it to fucking
Yeah, because
New Vegas.
they
I'm gonna go
removed the
through the
dart
Death
gun.
area,
The
thinking like,
one thing
yes.
that is useful in Fallout 3, the one thing that they could have brought over that would have been useful was the dart gun, which would cripple any enemy. Like it'll do 1,000 HP damage to the leg limbs and
Like,
will make
it's like
anything
what's funny
fall.
about this is like I decide to go through the area. I'm like, oh, Deathclaws will be easy. They're so simple. But unlike Bethesda and Fallout 4, Obsidian actually got their armor system right, and these things just decimated me. I'm like, okay, maybe I just didn't do that right. Decimated. Let me try that again. Decimated. Okay, let me get some good armor. Oh, I survived a hit. Decimated.
The best way to take out Deathclaws is either through stealth or with a fat man. That's just
Oh,
how
I
I
eventually
handle
managed
it.
to stealth my way through that after in one playthrough, and then I ran into Cazadors, which killed me. I fucking
Yeah,
hate Cazadors.
yeah, they're like super flies with venom, and the
Oh, you
point.
you you cannot let your companions get hit by that. They will die. Like
Yeah, that's
guaranteed.
why I didn't play. That's when I played through hardcore mode. I went completely alone because I knew for a fact that if I bring any follower with me in Fallout New Vegas in hardcore mode, they're gonna be dead. I they just
They survive like most anything else with me because they do level with you.
yeah,
But
thankfully
they just could not survive a Cazador attack. Like if I was going to a Cazador Ranger, I'd be like, "You stand right here. I will come back for you. I'm gonna go handle these Cazadors." And worst part is sometimes the Cazadors actually would accent somehow aggro onto them when they're standing like fucking. Like yeah, screw the guy 20 feet in front of me. I'm gonna go attack that guy over there on the horizon. It's
yeah.
like no, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, and now I have to reload.
No, fucking why?
But yeah, back to Far Harbor.
Yeah, I just don't care about the main story. It's just like I'm gonna get all the legendary weapons and get the locations done.
I haven't had
But
like one legendary weapon in that entire game that I actually thought was worthwhile. It's like, oh hey, here's a melee weapon. Like, oh, this is really sweet. Too bad getting a melee distance is basically suicide because I'm playing on survival and you assholes didn't properly rebalance your fucking game.
yeah, melee does not. The DPS for it has been significantly reduced, like from Fallout New Vegas, where you could just swing a sledgehammer at like three strikes per second, which did put it on par with like powerful guns, which made it viable. But in this, when you swing a sledgehammer, it it takes a while for it to actually get connect.
And the worst
So
part is most of them don't do enough damage, and most enemies can just one hit kill you.
yeah, a lot of enemies have a grab or a insta kill. Like the Assaultrons will have a grab and stab, which will insta kill you. Some Death Claws, if they're high enough level, they will grab and impale you.
And the worst part is on the survival overhaul, they're not most of the enemies are not supposed to do that. But like holy shit, playing through this, I keep fighting enemy after enemy that did not get the rebalance. Like Triggermen, not a single Triggerman in that entire game has been rebalanced. And I don't know how the hell they missed the Triggermen, because they're all bullet sponge and almost all of them can one hit kill you.
Hmm.
And like I don't know how they missed this because you actually have to go through a vault filled with these fuckers
To
during
get
the
next.
main quest.
Yeah, it's kind of messed up. But
Like,
to
hey, when you got
fall
the Dima though, and Dima's like, are you a synth? And you're like, well, I've been to the Institute. I've checked their files. I've been briefed on what a synth is. I need to eat, drink, and sleep. I don't suffer from nightmares. And my father has basically, I mean, my son has basically told me I'm not a synth, and in no terminal am I a synth. So, yeah, no, I'm not a synth. Let's see what my options are. Yes, maybe. I don't know. No, I'm not. Are you fucking kidding me on this shit?
It's like, I wish there was an option. It's like, I can quantifiably prove that I am not a synth.
I have plus 10 intelligence and charisma. You will not win this argument with me, Dima.
Yeah, and this is sort of the screwed up part. Is like, the original girl that you're going after, she believes that she is a synth,
And she
but
isn't.
yeah, and because she doesn't have any synth components upon her death.
And both the Institute and Railroad will both tell you that they have not replaced her. Which brings up actually a really good point, is that I thought the Railroad was replacing people in Fallout, but I could never prove it. But then you actually can prove it when you fucking play through Far Harbor, because they will tell you they have not replaced Kasumi.
Yeah.
And you're
So,
like, because you know what Curie looks exactly like?
uh,
There's a daughter on Abernathy Farm.
oh yeah, oh yeah,
She
yeah, yeah.
looks exactly like her, and I honestly think that they were planning to replace her.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That makes sense. I didn't put it together in my head.
So like here's the really messed up part is that you thought about Fallout 4, like you get to the Institute and they're like, yeah, we're not as evil as you think we are. And it's like, what's the fuck's with all this replacing people shit then? And it's like, let me look at your terminals. Okay, you've done it a couple times, but like always for a pretty well, all right, some of these are pretty half baked, but at least reasons. And they're like, there's no record of them trying to mass replace people at all.
Yeah, it's just been like in people that have tried to like undermine the institute's goals,
Yeah. Uh,
to my knowledge, which I can understand. Like, if I was in that position and I had that ability to replace an enemy, I would do that to secure my interest.
And the worst part is like in one case in Warwick Farm, is like the person they replaced, the synth, is actually a better father and husband than the person they replaced.
Yeah, um, yeah,
And that's like really messed up,
that's
dude.
kind of a moral gray zone.
Yeah, it's a really moral conundrum. Like, do you do this though? Because it's one thing to do it like because you'll never get to see the consequences of it, but as the main character, that actually would have been a really good moral conundrum. But actually, what it really shows you is that the Railroad is actually the evil bad guys in Fallout 4.
Yeah, they are the SJWs of Fallout 4. They
Like,
will protect a toaster over a human being. I fully believe that would be their position if it came down to it.
oh, here's the messed up part: is they will openly lie about everything too.
Yep.
Like, Deacon is like was the only character I liked about them, and I feel legitimately bad for Deacon because you go to meet the railroad. It's like, yeah, I just took out a Courser, I reformed the Minutemen. I control about like what half the Commonwealth at this point. I have friends in the Diamond City.
In
Oh,
high and
pretty
low
much everywhere.
places.
I literally have a settlement nearby that can literally hit this place with artillery. You know, I
I'm
could have like an
legitimate,
army here like in 3 minutes, like in probably like 5 minutes.
and I don't even need that army. I'm a walking arsenal myself.
Yeah, I'm a walking apocalypse.
Yeah.
I wish I could give credit for coming up with that myself, but honestly, it was in the Borderlands DLC.
Oh,
I know, but it's so good. It's like, you may be a walking apocalypse. I'm like, this is the nicest thing anyone's ever called me.
yeah. But
But
yeah, it's like, okay, do work for us. I'm like, if I was at that level and at that position, it's like I'd be like, no, you work for me now, and if you don't, I'll bring you to heel hard.
yeah, like that's the fucked up part. Is like if like I mean, they're so full of shit. It's like, and she's like, well, if would you die for a synth? And I'm like, well, it depends on the situation, because this is a mass murdering psychopath who's like fucking killed and raped a bunch of people and tortures children. I'm probably not going to take a bullet for the son of a bitch.
Yeah, but for like Curie, I'm just like, well,
Uh,
I can replace her parts and all, the ones that I don't break myself, but
Giggity.
um, but But that
Yeah,
sort of
actually,
brings me back
that's
to
the
my
fucked up part about sense is actually you can actually remove one of their arms and legs and just like put a new arm and leg on it, and like they're no worse off for the wear for it.
yeah, and that's sort of the weird thing about the whole question is like, would you die for a sense? And I'm like, well, can sense actually die? That's my question because they are
Oh, they
machines.
can. It's just that they're they probably have like a 10% more resilience than humans.
Yeah, and that's sort of my conundrum with it. Is like it's a machine that can be replaced and backed up. So can they actually die in like any given circumstance?
Fair enough.
Because I
Yeah,
mean, if I had the will, I could probably put Carrie back together if I had. Well, actually, I do have a robotic desk.
yeah. Except for you
So,
can't repair a Gen 3 synths with a robotic, so they're actually biotissue.
oh yeah, that's right.
It's
Well,
actually fun fact. It's actually engineered from two strains of the FEV virus, that against your son Sean's clone tissue, which actually generates synth tissue. So when Dima tells you there's no way to tell the difference between a synth and a human, he's full of shit. A simple biopsy would be able to do so, and the motherfucker could get his hands on an X-ray machine and see the components in the synths. And those are just two ways you could come up with by spending a minute thinking about this.
yeah, there's a lot of holes in the whole sense humanity gray zone. It's like I can quantifiably prove that one person is a sense or not, purely based on my skills and observations and the evidence about the person. I don't have to kill them to figure it out.
Yeah, and like yeah, that's just a thing. It's like in Bethesda really didn't the writer really didn't seem to grasp what the hell he had created because he just won 80s all the fucking time on that. But like, and here's another thing about the railroad though. Back to the railroad. Is that like they'll tell you like, oh yeah, but you don't want to take a bullet from the Sims depending on the circumstances. It's a yes or no answer. And it's like, are you seriously hearing yourself? Like, what if this guy's a mass murderer child like serial killer? Like, you really want me to take a bullet for a serial killer that kills children? Like, really, really, just
Yeah, that perk
eh,
has been removed. So
yeah, I'm gonna need mods for that. So,
yeah.
and
Oh,
the
that's
PS4
such
mods
one
just
of the
got delayed
weirdest
indefinitely
things from the
forever.
original is that there was a perk for killing children. It's like and it was a picture of the pit boy kicking a pregnant woman, and it was just like, uh, and when the artist behind like all the perk icons talked about it, it was like I had to come up with the least offensive child killer perk.
Wait, what the hell did he come up with that was more offensive than that? I
He
actually
came up with some
legitimately
pretty
want to see.
graphic stuff. It was like ripping a child out from a pregnant woman. There was like another picture of him executing a child. It was some pretty graphic stuff that he came up with, but like
Like, am
kicking
I
a
the
pregnant
only
woman
one that
was
actually
probably
just
the
thinks of children as basically developing adults and does not put them on such a sacred pedestal? Like,
yeah. Uh, in an apocalypse situation, I can definitely see that. But from our own like situation,
so I'm not gonna go say, "Hey, go kill kids," but like, god damn, like, the way society treats them, it's like so double standard. It's not even funny. It's like, it's just, yeah. I'm not even gonna get into this. This will literally be like a hour-long discussion. But
yeah, that'll be for another time.
yeah, like the
Maybe when I
railroad.
finish Far Harbor and
And
maybe some other DLC that come out.
And then
So,
Deacon, and then the railroad's like also like, oh yeah, well if you would have came here and been hostile, we would have been out of here like in 5 minutes. You would have found an empty room. Now, Jack, when you played the Brotherhood, you raided their ass. Were they out of there when you got there?
no, there's one way in and one way out.
There's a back door.
So no, there's not a back door either.
Oh, actually, there is a back door.
Oh, I
You can
didn't
go
find
in
it.
from the cathedral, and there's an escape route on the back. And if you actually side with the railroad, which I unfortunately had to do for the achievement, um, the Brotherhood Steel will literally push in from both entrances.
Yeah. So they're not exactly top on. They're not exactly bright people.
Yeah,
I
no, like
guess I could say that for every faction.
Deacon was like the only person in that one that actually had intelligence, and he straight up lied to you because he's like, well, the Institute tried to take over the Commonwealth at one point in time with the Synth Army, and I'm like, when the fuck did this happen? Like, no one else mentions this.
And yeah, and it's like, okay, to what end? Because when you find the institute, or even if you before find them, it's just like you'll see synths like occasionally out there, but it's just like,
They're
okay, if they
gathering
did
resources.
want to conquer the Commonwealth, to what end? How does that benefit the institute in any possible way?
Like, and here's the thing about the institute is like, I actually kind of like this is that the people above ground believe the institute was the reason why their government failed, the United Commonwealth government failed, and you actually talk to father and like, try to help them, but they involved in the petty bickering and infighting, and then the whole thing just fell apart.
Well, I'm about out of power here, so
Thank you for listening today. To our next.
tune into our next fight, and we'll be there. And possibly we'll have another person. We'll have more stuff to
For
talk
once,
about. Yes, and it will go 100% smooth.
and it won't
Hopefully.
be our imaginary waifus
Yes. We'll see you
who are
on the
not
flip
imaginary
side.
until they exist.
Yeah. See y'all.
See ya.